One thing we didn't do that we normally do at the beginning, just again to make sure that students can hear us, if you can you please type the name of the country where you are located at this time in the Q&A window. So this way we know the system is working, you can ask the questions. And I'm kind of curious where we have students this time. So I see we have students in Nepal, I'm kidding, Nihal in India, Kenya, very nice. The Netherlands, all right, very good. Spain, Nepal, Bhutan. Another question I also have, very nice. We have just about everywhere. So Europe, Canada, nice. Another question I want to ask you is, so we have two tracks. We have the, let's call them teenager track and then professional track. So the X-Culture Academy has two non-university student cohorts. One is professionals, so people, adults who are older than 18, but who applied to X-Culture individually, not as part of a course at a university, but individually for personal professional development. And then we also have pre-college teenagers, so students who are younger, usually younger than 18. So can you put your, let's put it this way, can you put your age in the comments Q&A, so this way we will know how many people from each group we have, so that we know which group to focus on in our comments. I see we have some who are 17, some who are 21, 16, so we have both groups apparently here. Okay, good to know. So we have a little bit more pre-college teams, but we have some older participants as well. Okay, that's good to know. Again, there was a question at some point if these groups will be mixed, and no. I mean, obviously, when we answer the questions, most of you probably have similar questions, so we can keep you together. But when the time comes to place you on teams, of course, those will be completely different sets of teams. Right. So the professionals are with professionals, and then teenagers are with teenagers, usually plus or minus 1 year or so. Moreover, even within the sort of adult group, we try to match everyone by age and experience, as we do, by the way, with the university students, even though
I have a question.
Yeah.
So are professional students ever mixed with university students?
No, very, very rarely when there is a real, like if somebody joins a little late, let's say, for example, there is a team of professionals, everybody is, let's say, 27, 28, and then they need one extra student for whatever reason. Let's say one team member got sick and is not able to participate. And then so they say, can we get one extra team member? And let's say this time we have an MBA student on the wait list because his semester started late, or for whatever reason he was not able to join the project right away, but now he needs to do it because it's part of his course and he's available. He's also 28, 29 and available. In that case, we may make an exception and mix these people together. But generally we keep them separate for the reason that they have somewhat different schedules, somewhat different levels of experience. And so it's usually better to keep them separate. Moreover, as I said, in the university track, we have people of all ages and experiences. We would have some MBA students or executive MBA who are in their 40s, and some of them maybe even in the 50s. And then we have regular MBAs who tend to be more like in the 30s. And then we have undergraduates of all ages. Most of them would be like 20, 21, 22, 23, 24 maybe. But then there are some who went back to school after working for a while. So there will be some in their 30s and 40s. And then obviously, again, it's a different level of experience. But more importantly, again, different sort of demands in life. So those who are, you know, older, they may have families, jobs, busier, very different set of interests. So we don't want anyone to feel like they have to babysit, you know, younger participants. Although I will say that when it comes to the quality of work, it's not really that different. You would think that the more experienced EMBA students do a better job, but when we then run in the end the numbers, it actually seems like it's not so much about how old you are, but it's rather about how hard you tried. And we always have some younger teams, like literally teenager teams, whose work is objectively better than work of most of the students and professionals. I don't know, maybe the younger ones, maybe, I don't know, they spend more time, or maybe they solicit help of their, I don't know, advice of teachers or parents, which we welcome.
So,
I mean, whatever it
so
takes.
my observation is this: And while I'm answering this part of the hypothetical questions that I just thought of in my head, if you could please, on the chat, if you could write down your primary reason why you joined us. The
Oh, that's a
primary
good
reason
question.
why you joined us. So, and I'm gonna hide this so that I'm not looking. I think what I found in the past with students is that regardless of what age group you're in, once you're grouped together, it's not actually just the project that enables you to go through the growth experience. Besides the time zone, trying to figure out which mode of communication works best for everybody, it's really more about learning the culture of each other's countries, learning the infrastructure uh, of each other's countries. And I think there's a lot of value that you are populated with teams that are in your age group, because you get to kind of see the world through the eyes of another person who comes from your age. And then eventually, as you guys all grow up together, and so long as you keep that friendship going, that you get to experience the evolution of both societies, both countries, both worlds. And that is really where the growth comes from. You know, besides the fact that, yeah, we teach you how to write an international business project, we teach you how to collaborate in a professional way through global virtual teams. There's so much more growth opportunities beyond what we put down in a curriculum. So keeping in mind that really the idea is to evolve as an individual in a cohort with people in your age group. And this enables you as a human just to become really a global citizen, to be more empathic, to understand cultural dimensions, to understand other countries' values, right? So, for example, the kings of the emperors of China, they said there were two things, right? First, that the leader has to be benevolent and virtuous, but then that the students or the population have to be educated. And this is really, Dr. Terrence and I, this is really our global reach to ensure that every single person has the capacity to be educated at a global level. All they have to do is find us. So if you know anybody in the future, have them come and find us.
All right, so I see we started getting questions about all kinds of things related to the process. So let me give you a quick update on where we stand this week, and then we will get to those questions. And if you have questions, you can type them in the Q&A window, just like some students already have started doing. And then otherwise, you can also raise your hand. And if you have a microphone and a camera, we will add you to the room here and we can talk. It would be interesting to meet you. But anyway, so this week you are working on test 2. So there are 4 theory tests that you all have to pass. And so this week, tomorrow is the deadline for the second one. The first one was graded, and I believe on Tuesday, you got your links to the second test and review of your performance on the first test. Don't get used to that. Normally it will be Wednesday when you get the results. I was able to send out everything this time on Tuesday, but don't panic if you don't get the next one on Tuesday. Normally it takes up to 3 days to get everything processed, graded, viewed, and then the feedback prepared and sent out on Wednesday. So this week we are talking about, or the topic of this week is cross-cultural collaboration in teams. You have several videos there, and one training module, I believe, a written training module. And then if you want to learn more, if you are sort of, either older or want to learn more, there are a couple of additional training modules, 3 and 4, that you can go through. And then as before, the link was sent to you by email. Click on the link and do the test. The system automatically will send you a reminder, I think today, if you're not done with the test yet, just as a friendly reminder. So if you missed that original email, it will send you another email with the link. Sometimes, and it's very important, those messages get into the spam folder. because as you can imagine, we send out, thousands of them every week, and some email services may think that we are spammers. So if you don't get it, just check your spam folder. Happens very rarely, but sometimes it does. So if you don't get it, let us know. But as always, if nothing helps, if you don't have your email with the link, send an email to academy@xculture.org so that we know that there is a problem. We'll investigate and see what's going on, and then if needed, send you the new link. Based on the first week, not everyone passed the test, but it seems like most did. We had a few students who didn't even attempt it, and I'm not sure who they are, why, if they, maybe parents signed up the kids and then they the kids decided they don't want to participate, I don't know. Or maybe professionals signed up and then got too busy at work and decided that they don't have time for it. But those who tried, it seems like almost all did pretty well. So we had probably about 5%, maybe 7% of the students who attempted the test, but didn't get the necessary 80 points. And so those people got, first in the review email, it said that, sorry, but you got, let's say 67, and we require 80 to pass the test. And in that case, we send you a new link, a new email saying that, sorry, you either didn't attempt or failed on test 1. Here is your retake link. And so you have to pass it by the end of the next week. So if you're one of those few people, don't get embarrassed, don't get upset. Maybe you just were not used to the format of the exam, or maybe you didn't realize that it does require a little bit more studying. So take that retake link and take the test again. As long as you pass it on the second try, that's still okay. But make sure to do well on the remaining tests, because if you fail each one of them, we will become a little sort of uncomfortable. So we will start asking questions. Is she or he ready? Maybe the person is not responsible enough, or maybe the person is not, I don't know, fluent enough in English. So one sort of fail or below the threshold, we will work with you. And as long as you work hard and show us that you still, can pass it, it's okay. But always try to shoot for the best possible grade. And sorry, we cannot give you the grade automatically upon completion of the test, because some of the questions, as you know, are open-ended questions where you have to write answers. Plus, you had to provide your introduction video. Again, it takes time to watch them. So it takes a few days just to review everything and give you the grade. But that's where we stand at this time. So week 2 test is due tomorrow, and then there will be 2 more. Just so you know what's going on in the other tracks. So in the university track, and actually, Leilani, it may be interesting for you too. For some reason, we have more students than usual in the early track. So normally we would have 1,000, maybe 1,200 students in the early track, and about 4,000 in the late track. And this time we're almost at 2,000 in the early track. And then we still keep getting applications for the late track. So we expect probably 4, but possibly more. And so if that happens, we probably will exceed 6,000 participants this time when we put all together. So I'm not sure why that is. Maybe the COVID-19 sort of highlighted the importance of online education. And maybe that's why all of a sudden XCulture is even more popular, because we saw growth every year, but this time it's an unusual jump, but we'll see how things go.
Right.
So from the early track students, again, same thing. So pretty much, so we got all the names. So it's about 2,000 names at this time in the system. But as always with the university students, some didn't attempt the test, and usually those are the students who dropped the course. So they enrolled, but then perhaps this time maybe, because of the COVID, they could not arrive and start, taking the courses at whatever university they study, maybe something else. And so for that reason, some of them are dropping out, never attempting the test. But of those who attempted the test, it seems like pretty much all, we have like 7 or 8 who didn't pass the test. But the rest are fine. And so in the early track, they already are in teams. So we already formed something like 270 teams. And so there will be more formed in the next couple of days, but they're already working. And importantly for you, we started doing the webinars with the client companies. So we had, I think, 4 or 5 of them this week. And there will be several more next week. So try to, not try to attend them. If you can and if you want, you're welcome to attend them. If you cannot attend them, not a problem. We first record them and you can watch them later. And 2, there will be another round of webinars in October. So for those of you who are already curious and eager to start meeting the company executives and founders, We have those webinars, you have the links, and you're welcome to attend them. And you can even maybe start thinking about which of the challenges you want to work on, which of the companies you want to choose as a client, and maybe even start doing your research. Why not? Why wait until you're on a team when you can start doing something to get, now? I mean, obviously, who knows what your team collectively decides, which client they want to work on. But again, if you already have something, ready, the team will say, oh, that's great. Johnny got some work done, so let's work on that. So you're welcome to start now. But once we form,
in mind,
yeah,
that the team actually chooses which challenge they'll work on. Okay, it's not your choice; it's the team's
and the
choice.
team choice.
So if you would like to do background investigation on all of them, then you actually have something to offer once your team gets together.
Yeah.
And then you can do, if you want to do some preliminary research, you can say, oh, this is what I've found so far with that team's industry. And this would be interesting because, so it's not necessarily a choice. It's not the time to choose, but it's just the time to kind of like tap in and see what's going on.
Yeah. There were some questions, how do teams choose clients? When we started doing X-Culture, we actually assigned teams to clients. Like we literally would take, like let's say 10 companies, 1,000 teams, and we would say, the first 100 will work on this one, the next 100 will work on that one. And that it worked fine, but the problem is that what if a team really wants to work on a different challenge? So we felt it's not our position to tell you which of the 10, 12 challenges to work on. Maybe you have some interest in a specific industry and you want to work on that challenge. Or maybe you know something that you think would be useful for them. Or maybe you want to, meet specifically, the founders of this company, impress them, and maybe get a job there. So we felt that it would be better if you make those choices for yourself. Now, obviously, in the team, there will be about 7 people, and maybe, one wants one company, another one wants another. So you'll have to negotiate and decide collectively, but that's, again, part of the experience. There are some things you can learn from books. You can read a book about, math or marketing and sort of, learn it that way. But when it comes to the actual collaboration with people from different cultures and consulting for a real company, you have to try it. And so that's why we leave as many choices as possible for you, because all those negotiations, discussions, that's where the value comes from. That's something that you cannot learn from books. All right, so let's get to the questions then. And maybe, Dr. B, the first question here is, can you please explain about Cross-Cultural Opportunities Program? So about Pen Pal, cooking class, and virtual tour. So a lot of questions about that. We got about 200 people signed up to participate in it. So
What?
Yeah, we had quite a few, yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
Well, now the challenge will be, yes, managing all this.
Okay.
We tried for the first time, so.
I have not looked at the Qualtrics, so I'm a little, that was the moment that I was told that there were over 200. Okay. So let me just tell you about the social aspect of Academy and the X-Culture social calendar opportunity, okay? So as you guys know, we have 16 weeks together. And during those 16 weeks together, every Saturday, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, so whatever time that is over your part of the world, we will host this kind of thing. Dr. Taraz and I will have shorter and shorter talking opportunities because the rest of the time will be utilized either by a lecture, a cooking class, or a virtual tour. We will select, we actually have you sending 1-minute videos to Academy coaches who we will be meeting after this meeting now, and they will select the ones that they will post in our 16 weeks activity. So the purpose of that social calendar is, one, to really display what it is that your culture treasures, whether it's a tour of your country or the food from your country, okay? And those 1-minute segments, so for example, the cooking tour or the cooking show, it's really a demonstration. So you will sign up, put together a short list of ingredients that people need to purchase, right? And then during the cooking show, you're actually demonstrating what other students need to do in order to cook that food item that you have decided that you're going to present to our X-Culture students. Okay, then the virtual tour is actually to demonstrate what kind of cultural destinations you have that are amazing. I know that Nepal, we have a kid from Kathmandu. This is really why I was so inspired to do this. And he said, Dr. B, we have 7 World Heritage sites in Kathmandu. I didn't know that. Wouldn't it be great if we can have that tour? Or how about the people who are in India? Wow, like I remember being in India twice and driving through India. You literally are driving on the street and then you see like, you know, a fortress that was in operations like 2,000 years ago, and it's just there for the looking at, you know, and people just walk by it as if it's an everyday thing, which I think it is an everyday thing in India, except in the United States. Remember that this country didn't form until 1776 AD. Whereas when you're walking around India, you will find like fortresses that were created like, you know, like 200 BC or even 1000 AD. And that's even so old. And to them, that's like normal. You know, they have temples that are that old and people still use it. What, like, how amazing is that? I didn't know that until I actually went to India and got to see it. Now, isn't it amazing that all of you guys are all over the world? And all you have to do is take us there and tell us what it is through your eyes. What I also remember about traveling all over the world is it's so much better when you visit a country with somebody who comes from that area, because they show you the real architecture, the real culture. You get to see the world through the eyes of the people who live it every day. And it's so much more refreshing and it's so much more authentic. And that's what I want you guys to get to experience through this virtual experience in the virtual tours. And
One question, Leilani, one question about that. So the students are asking, does it have to be I am at that site with the phone and mobile internet, or can it be more like a presentation with photos and videos pre-recorded?
You can probably pre-recorded is going to be better. Because I mean, you can be there to answer questions and so forth and tell us the story, because what you think, you know, what you think is your story, there's so much more backstory to that and people will ask you. So like, for example, our student who was in Kathmandu with the 7 World Heritage sites, obviously we're not going to have him run from here to here in 1 hour, right? So he's going to have to put pictures together of those World Heritage sites and then say, well, you know, this is my uncle and he and I took this picture and this is really what this World Heritage site is about. And the, you know, it was given this because of, you know, it used to, you know, Lhasa, for example, is the capital of Nepal, right? And that, no, I'm sorry, am I in the wrong country? Is that Tibet? Is it too early in the morning Eastern
Nepal
Standard?
is the country, Tibet is the region in general. So Nepal is the political entity. So there are several countries in Tibet, sort of.
Okay. Okay. So, and then we can, you know, then you can talk about, you know, the Dalai Lama and how the Chinese actually went in and they wanted to annex it. And they, you know, the Chinese considers it one of, what is it? The divine right, that they have from coast to coast, that region under China, and, you know, like all different things. And there's a question here that I think we should answer right now because it's appropriate, right? It says, the student Nihal is saying, what if the students come from rivaling countries like Israel or Pakistan? I'm sorry.
Oh, Israel. This is a very sensitive question, Nihal. I deal with that all the time. When I form teams, we have several, I mean, obviously around the planet. So we have India and Pakistan. We have Israel in the Arab states. We have my native Ukraine and Russia. And so there are several other not very friendly neighbors. And then for us, the question always is it better to keep them separate or is it better to put them in teams together so that they can learn from one another? And honestly, there is no easy, definitive, quick answer. And I don't know, Nihal, before we tell you what we do, what's your take on that? Maybe either raise hand and, you know, we will add you to the speaker here and you'll share that with us, or just type the, you know, your suggestion and we will read your suggestion and then we'll tell you what we do, because it's a very, very sensitive issue. And
Yeah,
so
and I have
we
very
are kind
strong
of,
feelings about that.
yeah, we are kind of caught in between those political rivalries. And it's kind of funny for
But
me.
but boss, this is our core value, right? This is what we want to
Well,
teach.
as I said, there is more to say to this than meets the eye. And I will be honest with you, Nihal, when it comes to India, Pakistan, or Israel, Arab states, it's so easy for me to tell what's the right decision. But when it comes to Ukraine and Russia, oh, wait a second, here I'm gonna tell, I'm Ukrainian. That's a whole different story. Here I'm gonna tell you what's really going on and how those, another related issue while you're typing your suggestion here is how do you name the country? Every semester I have so much, how should I put it, um, uh, confrontation between students from different countries that believe which countries are independent entities and which ones are part of something. So the whole story started years ago when the Scottish students from Scotland wanted to be listed as a country Scotland and not the United Kingdom. And so we said, okay, technically Scotland is a country. So the United Kingdom is a federation of several countries. And so we listed it as Scotland. And I had a couple of British students, English students who kind of like, oh, Scotland, why should it be Scotland? Like maybe we should be listed as England too, and not the United Kingdom. But they were sort of okay. Then we had Macau, and so we listed it as Macau, and it was also years ago. And there was like little, from China, like, why is it Macau a separate country? But then it got really bad when we started listing Hong Kong as Hong Kong, and I would get really like hundreds of emails from the Chinese students saying Hong Kong is not a country, Hong Kong is part of China. Right. And then, so, what do you do with that? And so I would get so many angry messages, but then, okay, well, we changed it to China. But then I get the email from Hong Kongese students who say, no, we are Hong Kong, we are not China. So eventually we had to settle for what the United Nations calls those countries.
Exactly.
Like if it's Hong Kong, we call it the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region of China. So basically one of the special administrative regions, Macau, is a special administrative region. But no matter what you do, that even with that, it almost made both parties unhappy because Hong Kong, they say we want just Hong Kong. And China says, why do you even mention that they're special administrative region? Just put China. And so what I mean here is that for me, there is really no perfect solution. Whatever we do, somebody will not be happy. And so this is part of the lesson, that's part of the lesson for me, but also for the students. Because, that's part of the reality of life on this planet. Sometimes people have those special, again, for Ukraine, we had a university from currently occupied region of Ukraine by Russia, Crimea. And so, whose territory that is. The United Nations, the European Union, Ukraine, everybody believes that it's part of Ukraine, temporarily occupied by Russia. Russia, as you know, annexed the territory. They had the parliament sort of hearing vote and made it part of Russia. So in Russian eyes, that's now part of Russia. So what do I do here? How do I list them? So that's, tricky situation.
So he hasn't really answered. So, and I'm checking, but I'd like to share my position on that.
Yeah, you share your position and then I'll tell you what I do with that.
Okay, so this program that
Nihal actually raised his hand, so let's promote him to panel.
So let's see what Nihal says.
Nihal, can you talk?
He's muted. Yeah, he's muted.
All right.
Hello?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you have video as well?
Just a minute.
All right. So Nihal, you're from India or from Pakistan?
I'm from India.
Okay. All right. So what's your take? Should we put?
Hello.
So would you be okay if we put a student from Pakistan on your team, or would you prefer to stay away from Pakistan students?
Well, it really depends on the current situation, of the time. Okay. Because if there is any military action going on, and if I lost some, if my country lost some men, then I would definitely have some bad feelings about that country and as for that member as well. So that is only my concern, because if I talk about right now, there is a very aggravated tension between India and China.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and recently we acquired or they acquired, it's not really sure, but we acquired a region in the north, and they've lost.
Yeah.
It's been reported in the news that they
Kashmir.
lost some men.
Yeah, Kashmir,
Yeah,
right? So that was
exactly,
the whole
exactly.
thing was last summer. I remember I had a friend hiking there at that time, and then everything was blocked. So for a while, so yeah. So
Yes.
Nihal, tell me this: is there any trade going on between China, between India and Pakistan? Like other companies that trade, move goods across the border? Like, is there any economic activity going on across the border?
After the current terrorist attack in the northern region of India, the trade has actually lowered severely.
But is there any trade going on? I'm checking because I honestly don't know the numbers. So I'm gonna between India. Oh, it says India, China, India, and Pakistan. I know there is a lot of trade between India and China, but so let's see what the numbers are for the trade. So, but anyway, what would be your recommendation? Mix the teams or not between the people from the two different countries, from Pakistan and India, or India and China. So yeah, I'm looking at the charts
Well,
here. So there is trade going on quite a lot. So it's in billions, actually,
yeah,
but much less, as you're correct. So now it's much less than it was a year ago. So I'm not sure if that's
yes.
recent events or if it's more.
Currently, it has started with China. You know, we banned several around 150 or 200 or so apps of Chinese companies.
Mhm. Yeah, so it used to
Yeah,
be in billions, but now it decreased to mere millions. So it's really not that much. So the best
yeah,
year was 2013, 2014, when it was about 10 billion. It was growing, so it was a steady growth starting in 2000. In fact, let me share the screen just for people who. What I'm trying to say here is that there is still economic activity going on between the two countries. And when doing business or when doing negotiations, or maybe even political negotiations, there is a very good chance you will have to work with people from Pakistan. Maybe you will be the minister of, I don't know, defense, or maybe minister of economy, or whatever it's called in India. Or maybe you will have some sort of an enterprise that will be dealing with, I don't know, either trade or maybe a resettlement or maybe a rebuilding, or who knows what it will be. And so, like it or not, but some Indian officials and businessmen have to do business with people from Pakistan. And so if that happens sometimes in real world, I don't know, maybe it should happen sometimes in mixed culture teams as well. So it may not be necessarily pleasant or particularly enjoyable, but it will be educational. So I'm looking here at the numbers. It seems like from 2004 or so, there was a steady growth. But then, yes, last year when the whole thing started, so it went down almost to zero. We'll see how soon it will.
that was around the time an Indian Army's motorcade was attacked by a terrorist group,
Yeah.
which
No.
is based in Pakistan.
Yeah, I was following the news, and yeah, so I know that the events. So it probably will go back to where it was at some point. So, but yeah, it looks like now it almost came to almost to a zero. Any imports and
Yeah.
imports from Pakistan and India. Mhm.
So can I, can I put in my 2 cents
Yeah.
here?
So Leilani, how would you manage that?
Okay, so X culture, Nihal, X culture
Yes.
is a place, it's a space where we learn how to collaborate with each other despite of the craziness that's happening outside. Okay, because Nihal, you didn't cause the terrorist,
Yeah.
and particularly that student, I hope, was not a part of that terrorism, and that you
Yeah.
two may have different philosophies. But regardless of what those philosophies are, the purpose of our organization is to create that space, create that opportunity to learn about each other so that stuff like that doesn't happen in your future, so that your future has less opportunities for terrorism, because now you have kindness, you have understanding. Because you see, Nihal, we want a lot more students who are culturally open and informed in your age group, so that the future that you guys create are going to be different than the future that's happening right now, created by students who did not get to go through academy and learn what it's like to be a part of a global community. You know, what I want you to
Yes.
learn is that we are all one blue marble. And what you do what they do in your country, they're really doing to themselves. Because you
Well,
see,
Well, so let me tell you how we handled that. So Leilani, you're absolutely correct about the intent. And I will even say that the data shows, and we collect those data before and after the project, that in teams that were mixed, it doesn't matter what countries, but especially when we had the countries with the historic sort of, conflict, by the end of the project, people actually see each other a little bit more favorably. So we don't necessarily want you to become, friends or, but at least we want you to learn how to work with one another and provide that opportunity. But unintentionally or, as a side product, we actually see that people see each other a little bit more favorably and with a little less prejudice. And when that happens, that's wonderful. But I'll be honest with you. So the way we do it, or I guess I'm the one usually who's responsible for forming teams, I use random method. So there were semesters when I deliberately tried to keep those groups separate. There were semesters in the past when I tried to deliberately put them on the joint teams. Now it's perfectly random. As I said, we match you by age, but when it comes to countries, it's completely random. And so as a result, some Indian students will be placed on teams with Pakistani students and some won't. And as I said, whatever happens, happens. The logic here is that it can happen in real life. As I said, I don't necessarily want you to, go and start hugging each other. I mean, I want you to do that, but I mean, that's not my place to say, but, maybe you will be the Minister of Education or Defense or, Trade. And maybe you'll have to negotiate sometimes, maybe you'll have to deal sometimes about, all kinds of things. And so wouldn't it be nice to have some experience and maybe even have some people whom you can call to maybe establish that initial contact so that the negotiation can take place. So I don't know if you will be on a team with another Pakistani student or not. It will be random, purely chance. If it happens, I hope you will see that as, a learning opportunity. Yeah.
I just hope that the tension between the countries won't lead to interpersonal conflicts on the team. That's all.
That's exactly, well, that's my hope too. And by the way, for the teams where we will place, let's say some Russians and Ukrainians and Pakistani and Indians and so on, if there will be some uncomfortable tension, like if at some point you don't feel comfortable about that, let us know. Maybe we'll need to, move you around to other teams or something. We usually do it. Yeah, it never happened before. Never happened before.
Opportunity to grow and to learn and to understand each other from a point of view where you can work collaboratively.
Yeah.
Really, the most difficult challenges are the ones where you have the best opportunities to learn and grow. So don't run away from it, because if you are put in that situation by the universe, follow it, understand it.
In the past, we never had requests to move people around the teams, although I imagine that there was some tension probably, but students were able to work it out. So hopefully it will be fine this time. But again, your safety and sort of comfort is important to us. So if something goes wrong, do let us know. We'll definitely, address it. Anyway, we have quite a few more questions. Right. So let's talk about more technical stuff. So Nihal, I'm moving you back to the R&D. Thank you so much for your comments and for your input here. These are interesting and important issues, and again, an opportunity to learn. What is the most reported challenge you face in Xculture? For me as an administrator and for Dr. B, sometimes students, as I said, like all those little technical issues, like, I didn't receive the email, my name is spelled differently. It happens all the time. I don't know why people spell the names wrong when they apply. But when they see that same name on the certificate, all of a sudden they say, oh, whatever name you used for the last 2 months, that's not correct, it should be different. And so those little things take so much time. So we want you to sort of, if there is a problem with your name, email address, or something else, let us know. For the students and teams, the biggest challenge probably is, like in real life, in any team, we've seen literally thousands of studies on it, different people sort of have different standards. And so often in many teams, there would be a student who perhaps works a little less than others. And then people think that it's not fair. So we call those, people who work less, we call them free riders. Happens in every single team, professional teams, student teams. And that usually creates some tension. In most cases, it's not, not fatal. I mean, you just continue working with 6 people instead of 7, or maybe, 6.5. But it does happen sometimes. And that's the most frequent concern we hear about. So let's see what other questions.
Well,
did we work on more than one? Yeah, go ahead, Leilani.
Tatiana also wants to know how long before she can join the coaching program. And really, once you successfully complete Academy and you do it, again, there is a threshold where you have to do Academy very well.
Yeah.
And then you can sign up for the coaching program.
Yeah.
And the coaching program is yet another opportunity for you to learn and grow. And actually, we pull a lot of students from the coaching program to be coaches for academy and also for virtual and also for our on-ground conferences.
Yeah.
So again, just complete whatever it is that you're sitting in right now, do exceptionally well, and then you will have the invitation to apply to be in the coaching program.
To give you the kind of, in all honesty, to give you the exact numbers, so the coaching program is by invitation only. We invite usually about top 25% or so. So students who had the best results, peer evaluations, results quality. So it's usually about top 25%, which obviously out of 6,000 in every semester, it's about 1,500 people get the invitation. Then of those people, about 500-600 apply. So some people don't have the time, but we get about 500-600 applications. And then they also have to complete 4 weeks of training. And based on those training results and tests, we select, usually we aim for 50 students. So it's pretty selective. We cannot guarantee that you will be admitted, but as long as you do pretty well, you will be invited. And then it's up to you to do well on those tests. So it's a very selective program because, again, the coaches are people who sort of teach you. And if they're not ready, if they're not prepared, you will not be happy. But we've had in the past several students from the academy, teenager students who also made it into the coaching program. In fact, I wrote letters to 2 of them for Harvard. Literally, I wrote 2 recommendation letters for Harvard for Bakhtash. And you probably still remember there was also the student a long time ago, Estefania Espinal. Like years ago. So I was writing a letter for her. She applied to Harvard and to Northeastern. And so it's been like long time ago. But anyway, Bakhtash was one of those kids, and so he started, he was like 15, he did X-Culture, I think he even did it twice, and then he applied to the coaching program, and we decided to take a chance, even though he was younger, but he did very well, and this year he's actually one of the senior coaches, so he's kind of...
He's actually a coach for Academy,
yeah,
so some of you guys might get Bakhtash as your coach.
Yeah. So
okay,
yeah, so it's possible, but no guarantees.
So here's a question about, I'm assuming this is for the webinars. Will they be communicating or just listening?
In the webinars, both. So there are opportunities to ask questions in all webinars. Like here, we had a discussion with Michal. Likewise, when we have the webinar with the client company, we always encourage you to ask questions to join us. And so you will have an opportunity to talk. But if you're talking about webinars, meetings within your team, I mean, obviously that will be a conversation.
Yeah. And then Michalina wants to know, like, how are they going to know about joining the webinar?
Well, so there is a list of all webinars. Again, if you're talking about webinars with the companies, so let me show you here. You have access to this file, webinar schedule. So it is on the resource page, and it is in pretty much every email that we send to you. And so this is the webinar schedule. So we have 6-7 webinars scheduled for the coming semester, for the coming week. Here is the list of webinars for each of the company, and we've had several already. So for those that we already had, we have the recording. For those that we didn't have yet, we have the registration link. And then we also have some of the webinars that we did before, some of the review sessions. And then I included a few recordings from the guest speakers that we did last semester, which are useful and interesting for you. So I'm not sure if we're going to be able to invite the same guest speakers so you can watch the recordings. We'll have the webinar speakers starting in October once you placed on Teams. At that time, usually there will be a guest speaker, a professor who will talk us on about a specific topic.
So one student wants to know if he can work in more than one company.
Well, yeah, so no, and not that we sort of don't allow. I mean, it's a lot of work. So you'll have to do a lot of work, and you really will not have enough time. You're welcome to develop another, report if you want. We'll still send it to the company, but you will not have time for that. Spend as much time and focus on one and do it the best you can. You can participate in X-Culture again and maybe do another company, but I don't think you'll be able to do 2. So it's not that it's a rule, it's just,
And is there a minimum webinar that they need to attend?
That's a good question. So we recognize that you are all in different time zones. It's sometimes impossible. Like, for example, most of the webinars are around this time. And so we know that, for example, for like Australia and New Zealand, it's like, midnight basically. Likewise, when this one starts, it's more like 6 a.m. in California and something like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. in Hawaii. And we have students from all of those locations. And so we understand that, the timing may be such that some people just simply cannot attend them. Likewise, the webinars we do with the companies, usually they're during the business week. And so you probably are in school at that time. Maybe some of you have jobs. And so we understand that you may not be able to attend webinars at that time. So there is no requirement and you don't have to, but we encourage you to attend as many as you can. And if you can't attend one live, at least watch them, you know, in recording.
Yeah, so I have 3 questions here about the Pen Pal program. Okay, so what Dr. Taras did was last week he pushed out a survey, and in the survey you were able to sign up for the cooking demonstration, the virtual tour, and the Pen Pal program. So one student wants to know, I only signed up for the Pen Pal program, but now I'm interested in filling in for Anusha, signing up for the virtual cooking and virtual cooking tour. Virtual tour. Can I? So how does she do that?
That's a good question. So, well, the question is for you first, Leilani. You're managing this. Do you want any more people? Because it looks like we have quite a few who already signed up. And if you want, I can include the sign up form, you know, send out the invitations one more time if people want
So I think send it out one more time, but we got to close it really in the next 5 days. Only because the coaches are the ones that are selecting which country they'd like the tours to be on and which cooking shows they'd like to demonstrate. The Pen Pal program, unlimited.
Yeah,
so
Pal,
if you
that's not a problem.
Do the Pen Pal program, we will send you a Pen Pal from whatever, you know, part of the world.
You can randomly select it probably, but
yes.
So but when it comes to the cooking show, for example, again, I'm not sure if you want to allow it to run autonomously, but I assume the coaches have to be present there.
Yes.
And if so, there is a limit on how many we can do. Because again, maybe we'll do 1 or 2 quick, you know, in one of these weekend review sessions, but I assume there will be many of them happening separately. And, you know, each of them probably will take at least half an hour, maybe more. And there is a limit on how many of them we can just simply, it takes time. So we'll probably do a few just to get a sense of how they go. That's the first time we do it, but there will be a limit. And so we'll probably select the, you know, people with the most interest in sort of introduction videos.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. So we didn't ask for a closing date, but Vas, can we just go ahead and say that the deadline is this weekend, this Friday? So we'll give them another what?
Okay, yeah. If you give me the dates, yeah, I'll send out the invitation.
So let's make the deadline. Let's make the deadline the 11th of September, and then after the 11th of September, no more signups for the virtual cooking and the virtual tour. You know, and really for the Pen Pal, because we want to be already established by then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe we will sometime towards the end of the semester, maybe for December, when we have that reflection phase, we have a little more time then. You know, maybe we will do a little more. There is a question, do we need to have a team leader? No, so everybody is equal on the team to begin with. What we do recommend though, is that you discuss who does what and how the workload is distributed. And it's always a good idea to select one person or maybe 2 people who do a little bit more sort of leadership, coordination, you know, somebody who makes sure that everything's done on time, maybe sends the reminders, sort of puts everything together. You can call that person a leader, you can call that person coordinator, but it does seem like it helps the team. But we have, honestly, we actually have done a few studies on it and even published a couple of papers. And so it looks like not randomly, naturally, about 1/3 of the teams have a formal election and they formally elect a team leader whose job is to basically do the coordination. Then there are about another 30% or so of the teams where they didn't have the election, but one person sort of emerged as someone who does most of the leadership and coordination, and everybody is fine with that and recognizes it. And about 1/3 of the team, they just basically say everybody's equal. So we deliberately don't want to have anyone in a position of sort of leadership, and that's fine too. So whatever works for your team, it's fine. Yeah. There is a question from Austin. Where is it? For Nepal, for India, do we use, where did it disappear? Zoom, Facebook, and other things.
Yeah, go ahead.
That's a very good question. So it is true that in some countries, some of the communication tools are being blocked. So notoriously in China, for example, usually sort of American communication tools don't work, like WhatsApp, Facebook, they tend to be blocked. And Google services are not working, they have their own. And so it's always quite a challenge to figure out how to communicate with people from those countries. I used to see that as a challenge, as a problem, but now I actually see this as a wonderful learning opportunity. So there are still some tools that work in all of the systems. Like, for example, email still goes to all of the countries. Likewise, there are some European tools that work everywhere, like Slack, Trello. They seem to be available everywhere. And so if you will have a team member from a country where some of the communication tools are banned, like Facebook or WhatsApp, that's fine. You'll find another one, like Zoom, again, seems to work pretty much everywhere anyway. And WebEx, the same thing. And so that's an opportunity for you to kind of experience this additional challenge, because again, you will be doing business with them at some point, especially China, and those tools will not work. And so the whole point of XCulture is to sort of give you a preview. So as I said, it's more about the process than the outcome. Your reports, your product that you will produce is important, but honestly, it's more about how you get there rather than what you produce. And so the more of those challenges you experience, the more, not the more fun it is, but the more experiential that is for you. So, so yes, that could be an issue, but don't worry when it is, we will help you. There are enough tools that work.
Just one note about China, because this actually happened to one of my students. One of my students now is doing the early program, and one student said that she couldn't be on Facebook or WhatsApp. So I emailed Jaron, one of our coaches in Malaysia, and he confirmed that WeChat, it's WeChat, WeChat is the one technology that does work with students from China.
Well, WeChat is a Chinese tool, but yes, the challenge here again, WeChat last semester was interesting. So most of the teams that had Chinese students would go with WeChat or they have this QQ service. And so the team members just install that app on their phones and use it, to communicate with the Chinese and other team members. But then there was some big conflict last semester, or it was 2 semesters ago, like when that whole trade war started, and so all of a sudden WeChat didn't work in the United States. So it worked, but if you had it, but you could not install it. And now obviously with all the conflicts going on about TikTok, so I'm not sure what effect it's going to have on WeChat.
TikTok.
But what I mean is that TikTok is sort of possibly will be banned in the United States, still working, but I'm not sure if it will also extend to WeChat and QQ. So, but it's kind of an interesting situation. As I said, it's a good opportunity.
It's a learning experience, right? I keep getting questions about the sign up for the virtual, the cooking and the pen pal program. Boss, can you explain to them what happened? There was some technical difficulty. So now
there was one error. So I decided to sort of show off, and I included a page where before you submit your answers, it shows the choices you chose. And so there were choices, 1, 2, 3. And for choice 1, I displayed this is what you chose for choice one. For choice 2 or program 2, I don't remember which order it was. It shows this is what you chose for 2. And for 3, it mistakenly showed what you chose for 2. And so for some people that led to confusion, but we figured that out pretty quickly. A few hours later, the error was fixed. So if you were eager and you tried to fill out your application early on, you could have been affected by that little error, but everything was fixed pretty quickly. So hopefully it didn't affect much,
So if you had a challenge with your sign up, go ahead, because Dr. Voss is going to send it now or again, and you have till Friday to complete it. So go ahead and reapply, and then we'll choose from the population pool of students who got in, and then this present population pool. Okay. And the Pen Pal program is going to start. I have a meeting in 5 minutes with my academy coaches, and actually Raphael and I are the ones that are putting together the Pen Pal program. So start looking out for it, because you will be getting that soon. And then the other one here is what is the guidelines of being chosen to attend one of the symposiums? And really it's to place high and to do well in your peer evaluations. We are selecting, like I said, the top 10%. Now we probably, because now we have a much bigger population. You heard Dr. Voss saying, oh my God, we're 6,000, instead of, so we're growing.
Not to mention we couldn't do the symposium this year because of COVID. So we'll have twice as many applications probably.
Exactly. So I think what we'll do, Dr. Voss, is I'm already looking into it, is we'll probably have 2 conferences in 2022. I don't believe that we are going to have one in 2021. I think that the crisis is still going to be too fresh. But I'm moving forward really to start looking at 2 conferences in 2022. We'll probably have one in the, what we consider the summer schedule of the Southern Hemisphere, which is, I think, around December, January, right? We'll probably do it after Christmas. And then we also have the summer schedule of the Northern Hemisphere, which is for us June. So we'll have 2 in 2022. We'll start planning them probably in 2021. Of course, academy students and university students are all going to get invited. Eventually, if we grow too big, we'll have to split it. But for now, for 2022, 2 programs, do well, you'll be invited.
Yeah, for the one in Canada, we did have, what, about 10, 15 kids and 150 students total, plus or minus, so.
Yeah, but Dr. Voss, since now we're opening 2 conferences and we're running 2 per year, and since I'm now director of this program.
Of both programs.
Of both programs, oh my God. We're gonna have to figure out what is, we're actually going to have to probably increase our student population, and we'll work on that.
We'll see. Too early to worry about it now, but if needed, if the demand is too high, maybe we will, I don't know, either become more selective or just do a couple extra. What you should know is, Dr. B may not tell you that, but organizing the symposium, it's a huge, huge amount of work. It's literally like a whole year, much time every single day. And then the last several months, it's like full-time job for Dr. B and her team.
Yeah.
And so what you should understand is that sometimes people, complain that, like, I don't know, my bus was 10 minutes late for some sort of a, company visit. Oh, you cannot believe how much work it is and how many moving parts are there. Likewise, when people say, oh, how come I didn't get full stipend to attend? Well, organizing something like that takes so much, so many resources. And so we try to help as much as possible, but, the budget there is in hundreds of thousands of dollars to cover all of the bills. I mean, you cannot believe how expensive these things are, all the food and housing and transportation.
Oh my God.
So,
I think our hotel fee is something like $42,000 for 6 days.
Yeah. So therefore, we try as well as we can, to solicit sponsorship, to offer stipends, but again, these things. So therefore, when Dr. B now bravely said, maybe we'll do 2 of them, I'm like, well, as long as you're willing.
Okay, so I have to answer one more question and then I have to go because my other webinar is starting, okay?
Well, I'll stay for 5 more minutes to answer the remaining questions.
Okay, so Appeal is asking you to join 2020 X Culture. However, let me just tell you that Jaren, one of our coaches, is actually opening 2 Facebook closed group pages, one for Academy professionals and one for Academy kids, right? And it's going to be X Culture.
We'll probably send a link so that.
Yeah, we'll send you a link. And the reason for that, and we're making it closed groups, and we're doing these 2 Facebook pages, under 18 and over 18. Because we want you guys to be able to interact and share pictures and share experiences. But again, we're pushing that out sometime this week. I have a meeting now with my coaches, and we'll probably get more of a pulse check on the students that's actually going to stay in this cohort. So we want to wait for that second test to come out. We want to make sure that everybody passes the second test. And once you pass that second test, then we can divide you into 2 cohorts of professionals and then teens. And then those 2 groups will get an invitation to the Facebook page closed groups specifically for their cohorts, okay? So I have to go. I have to go to the coaches meeting. Dr. Voss will stay here. I'll talk to you.
We have about 7 more questions. I'll answer them and then join the coaches.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. So a few more questions that I see here. Austin is asking, suggesting a very interesting thing that maybe instead of listing countries, let's list cities. We might want to look into that. The only problem, Austin, is that we have this semester 104 countries in the academy track, so professionals and kids, and we have 45 countries where the universities are located. And so some of those students are taking classes online from other countries. So I'm afraid that even with the countries, the list is so long that it's, and imagine if we go into the specific cities, and sometimes it would be like smaller villages, but it's an interesting idea. So maybe we should look into it. The important thing again is it's not really so much a problem. Do you call it Hong Kong, or do you call it China, or do you call it something else? It is an educational experience. I mean, it is an interesting situation, and the students have here an opportunity to sort of experience it from inside their team. So I guess whatever the name is, hopefully it will prompt people to do some research and, figure out why there is a controversy about how this whole thing should be called. But cities, I guess, maybe that's not a bad idea. There is also a comment from an anonymous person, maybe that's why it is anonymous. We can use VPN servers to communicate, basically to circumvent the Great Firewall of China, for example. And yes, that's exactly what many students do in China. Again, I do not encourage or sanction the use of VPN to go around these firewalls. So see whatever's legal, but that's exactly what students do, in a sense that many Chinese students just use VPN services to still be able to use Skype or whatever other tools. From what I hear, it doesn't always work. So sometimes Skype sort of kind of works, but still is very slow. But yeah, again, that's something that some students do. Would it be better to use Instagram for communication? It's very hard to use different communication tools. A question from Appeal. Good question, but again, as I said, ultimately it's up to your team to decide how you want to communicate. So next week, we will give you some training and guide on how to use about a dozen communication tools, from WhatsApp and WeChat to Skype and Zoom. But then it is up to your team to decide how you want to communicate. And again, some of the challenges we see in that is that there are some people who don't want to install a new tool. For some reason, there are always some American students who refuse to install Facebook. So many teams want to use Facebook for communication. And there is always one or two American students who are so anti-Facebook that they say, I'm not installing it. But then, or vice versa, maybe there is a student from China who just simply cannot install it. It's not allowed, it doesn't work there. But the whole purpose of the program is, for you to experience this situation. And then you will have to negotiate with your team and decide what you can all use. Because again, when you will be doing business with those countries, there will be, again, all kinds of restrictions and, sort of, personal preferences like that. And you'll have to figure out how you're going to communicate. And so you as a team, figuring out that for yourself, that's a very important part of the competition, of the challenge, of the experience. Many people think that XCulture is a competition of reports that you write. No, reports are something to keep you interacting. So the real true experience and value of the product of the program is you get into that report finished. So that's where the actual education happens. So therefore, yeah, and again, if there will be a difficulty in your team, if you are not able to either find a tool that works for everyone or not able to agree on the tool that everybody is comfortable with, no problem. Send an email to the coaching program. They will be available. They will assist you. They will talk to all team members. And in the past, there was no single team where that issue was not resolved. I guarantee you it will be fine for you as well, for your team. What happens if we're at the boarding school and want to apply for the coaching program, but have limited time? From Jessica. A very good question, Jessica. And we have that all the time. So you will be surprised what percentage of our students are at boarding schools. Usually boarding schools, those who don't know what it is, that's where students sort of live and study. In fact, I attended a boarding school for a while in Germany myself, a long time ago in 93, 94. And so, yes, we lived in an old building. So that looks basically like if you watch Harry Potter, it looks like an old castle. And so we had every minute sort of spoken for. So we would be in a regular school in the morning. Then we would have additional training, additional classes in the afternoon. Then we had all kinds of other activities that we had to attend to and didn't have much time for anything else. If you think there is a way you can find the time, I encourage you to apply. Second, in the past, we would send sometimes or would be asked to send letters to the principals, to the headmasters of the schools, explaining what the student will be doing, why it is important, how much time it will take. And I've done that quite a few times over the years. And always, in all the cases when the student really wants to participate either in XCulture or then is invited to participate in the coaching program, once we talk to your principal or headmaster or whatever it's called, a school director, she will or he will probably say, oh, that's a very valuable experience, and we will accommodate. In the past, there was always a way to figure that out, and maybe you will be freed up from some of the activities at your school so that you can do this X-Culture coaching program. So don't worry, we will work with you. And at least in the past, it was possible to do it. I mean, obviously, same problem for the professionals. Many of them have families, have jobs, and would like to do the coaching program, but don't have the time. So again, ultimately, it's up to you if you can do it. But if you need a little help, maybe a letter to your boss or the letter to your, I don't know, whoever kind of controls your schedule, we will be willing to help, and hopefully we'll be able to work it out. Ankid is asking, do we need to submit the email about our introduction to the PenPal program before submitting that we're interested after all? I think the application is enough, but that's something, again, I'm not managing that program, so I'm not sure about all of the details, but my understanding is that you apply and you will be matched with a different student or student in a different country who is your age and sort of your demographics, so that you're kind of matched with people roughly of your sort of age and experience. And then it's up to you too to decide how you want to communicate. I mean, our hope is that you will be communicating regularly, maybe by email, maybe in a chat somewhere, or maybe even regularly calling each other on Skype or whatever tool you use. And then it's up to you. So if you want to do a quick introduction by email first, good idea. If you want to try to schedule a live meeting, good idea. But ultimately, it's up to you too. Again, this is the first time we're doing this program, so we would like to maybe get some input and ideas and suggestions from you. So once we start, once you experience it, maybe there will be a better way to do it. So we'll sort of use you. Hopefully you'll have a good experience, but if you have some suggestions for how to do it better, we can use your input and suggestions for the next semester. When applying to PenPal so I already answered that. Yeah, so I already answered. So introduction, how long it should be. As I said, communicate with the coaches about that, so they send you probably instructions. I just don't want to give you the wrong information there. So, when is the symposium held? Where is the symposium held at? Nobody knows. Hope is asking a good question here. So the very first one we did was in Istanbul, Turkey, and then we had one per year with in collaboration with the Academy of International Business. So the first one was Istanbul, Turkey. Then we had one in Miami. We had one in Washington, D.C., one in Nashville. I'm probably missing a couple of cities because we had quite a few of them. Then in 2017, we added the second one per year and had a big one in Miami with 150 students. And I think it was like 20, 30, 40 professors. Then we had, again, each fall had a smaller one with the Academy of International Business, Atlanta, Savannah, again, I'm missing probably a couple more in the United States, but then had another one in Italy, again, with close to 200 people total, very, very interesting experience, like in an ancient old city. Then we had another one in Canada last summer. And then the plan was to have one in Singapore this year. And then the next year we were negotiating with the Caribbean, Grenada. So it's an island in the Caribbean region. So Grenada, the name of the university is St. John's, I believe, University. And the problem is that with COVID, everything is unturned now. So we had to do the one, instead of Singapore, to do it online. And then the plan was to do Singapore next year. Then we were hoping we will be able to do the one with the Academy of International Business in the fall in Panama City, Florida, which is scheduled for November. But again, they decided to do it online as well, the conference, the Academy of International Business. So we'll do the X-Culture Symposium online as well. And then the next one, we have several applications. So there are a few from Europe, a couple from the United States, one from Caribbean, Singapore is still on the list. But the problem is we're not sure if we can do it even in 2021. And the reason for that is that probably everything will be fine by the summer of 2021. But the invitations have to go out. Usually we invite people in December because people need to have time for, applying for the visas, securing the travel arrangements, like the air tickets and all of that. Some of them have to go through a very lengthy visa application process. And so we really have to send out the invitations in December, maybe January, the latest. And the problem is that in December, January, probably nobody will know if summer will be open for travel. So at the time when the travel will be happening, probably it will be okay. But at the time when we have to decide if we do it or not, probably nobody will know if summer will be open. And so it looks like increasingly likely that we will not be able to do the summer 2021 either, but instead we'll do the 22 and summer and fall 2021. And so, as Leilani said, maybe we'll do 2 of those symposia in 2022, because not only we always had more students than we could accommodate, but now that we missed 1 year and possibly we'll miss another one, we'll have like 3 times as many people, applying and eligible to apply. And so we'll have to see what we're going to do. So maybe we will do 2 of those. Nihal is asking, we should finish X-Culture program so we can apply to be a coach in the coaching program. Yes, to be in the coaching program, you have to finish the X-Culture Academy program. And as I said, normally we invite top 25% or so. And then at that point, it will be up to you if you pass all the remaining tests. So it will be quite competitive, but again, as long as you try hard, you probably will qualify. There was also a question earlier that I missed about certificates. Yes, everybody gets a certificate, kids, professionals, students. It will have slightly different text depending on which track you were in, but it's basically the same certificate of your completion of this training program, successfully completing. And then in addition, you will get a very detailed recommendation letter that will explain in great detail what you did, how much time you spent, how well you did. So you'll have all of that obviously documented so that you can use it when you're applying for jobs or maybe applying for stipends, scholarships when you go to university. Our chosen companies will be in different places around the world, or will they be all in the same place? No, so for the virtual competition, we select, every time we try to select 5, 6 companies, but somehow end up with more. So this semester we already have 12 companies listed, and 2 more were added just recently. So there will be another company from Lithuania that makes mineral water, and then another company from Hong Kong that does some IT services. And so there will be a total of 14, I guess that makes it. And so you can choose any of those companies. But when we do the symposium, obviously all of the companies that participate in the virtual competition, they are all in different countries. Like each of them is in a different country and represents a different industry. So usually when the symposium is held, at least one of those companies is in the city where we are at. And so we will be able to meet them. Like for example, when we were in Italy, we actually had 2 companies from that same region that participated in the program. And so as a result, obviously, we were able to attend those companies, and there were 2 more. But we don't know what it will be in the future. And so usually we try to select 4 local companies. And so we will have to see what companies are available. So for the symposium, usually it will be possibly 1, maybe 2 companies that you potentially worked on as part of the virtual competition, but then it would be several other companies that are local companies. So state, well, same thing, so Jessica, yes. Can we be in touch with, besides email? Well, yes, once you're placed on Teams, ideally we want you to be communicating through video, right? So the more kind of rich communication channel we choose, one with video and audio, the better it is for you. And so you will start by email. So that's the context that we will give to you. But then it's up to your team how you want to communicate. And as I said, ideally we would like you to use as many communication tools as possible, including video. So it's interesting that somebody was added to host without my permission. I've never seen anything like that. Seems like some sort of a technical issue here. So that's very interesting. Anyway, happy Teachers Day. Thank you so much, Tatiana. I didn't even know that it's a Teachers Day, but good to know. Ankit, I have checked of interested in PenPal, but not in other programs. What should I do? So PenPal, cooking class, and virtual tours. I'll ask the coaches to send you more details, because as I said, that's the program that I don't manage, and I'm afraid I may give you misleading information. So give me another day or so, I'll talk to them, and we will get you that information. Is there any medical company this semester? We have Ultra Specialisti that participates every other semester. Ultra Specialisti, that's an Italian company that does teledoctors, basically, doctors over the internet. And so they skip every other semester. So they participated last semester and are not participating this semester. But if you're really interested in contacting a medical company, I can put you in touch with them. So, but they're not participating this semester. And I don't think we have any other medical companies. So I don't think not this semester. All right. So, and I think we've covered all of the questions pretty much. So thank you so much, everyone. And yeah, we will meet next week. If you have any other questions, meanwhile, just send an email to academy@xculture.org and we will answer it. And I see we keep getting more questions. So we have to stop now, guys, because I need to attend that other webinar with the coaches. So I'll see if I missed any important questions here. So yeah, but bye, everyone. Thank you so much for participation, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye. Bruno, come here. I'll show you my research assistant. My dog decided finally to wake up. So Bruno, say hi to everyone. Hi, everyone. So, all right, guys. Bye-bye. Talk to you next week.